the Bear Down Podcast Softball Edition, joined today Arizona softball standout, Allie Skaggs. Allie, thanks for joining us.
No, thank you.
Now, there's a lot to get into because you're having a terrific season so far in your sophomore year, but as we start here with the podcast, we're going to go back, start at the beginning. Both your parents, U of A alums.
Yes, they are.
What was that like growing up?
Oh, yeah. We're a huge Arizona family. So my parents even have one of the little block squares outside of McHale. It's awesome. Every time I walk past it, all of my teammates see it, and that's one of the things that, they know about me. So growing up, we're a huge Arizona family. My dad loves athletics. My mom, same thing. They both went to Pima Community College, played sports there. We just, even though we were in Louisville, we were watching Arizona all the time. I was probably too young to really get into it. I just like softball in general. I would watch Florida. I'd watch Auburn, anyone that was kind of on the TV. But I would come to Arizona camps. We'd come out to games too. We'd come visit my family. And just being an Arizona family really led me to coming here. I think that's something that brought me back.
And you end up growing up, you're born in Tucson, I should say, and then you moved to Louisville, Kentucky with your family, but then you come back for your senior year of high school at Ironwood Ridge. What was that like to come back to Tucson, play softball, albeit a season cut short from COVID, your final year?
Yeah, so the cool thing is that why I decided to move was in Louisville, I got to play 4 years of high school ball. So you could play up with your high school team if you lived within the resides of your high school. So I got 4 years at my high school there. So by the time it was my junior year, I was like, all right, I think I'm kind of ready to get out there. I want to be around U of A. I want to go to softball games. I want to see what life is like before I have to actually do it myself. So I moved out here senior year, went to Ironwood Ridge, and Devin Natz, one of my teammates, also transferred with me. And so we had this stacked team. It was so much fun. You get this high school that gets 2 Arizona commit transfers. I think we got 10 games in. We were dominating. Our team was good. And then COVID, we were kind of I still remember the game that we were at when COVID first was kind of getting talked about. And I still remember in the cages, our team was like, dude, what if this gets canceled? What if we get a couple weeks off, And the next day, I think it was, okay, shut down. We're done for 2 weeks. Maybe we'll reevaluate. So that was unfortunate. I think the girls that were on that team for the longest time probably felt it a little bit more than me just because I transferred. So I was kind of like, you know what? All right, it's time to go to U of A. I was ready to move on. But it was really fun. It was a good year until it got shut down. But I would have liked to have seen where we could have gone with Devin and I. But I'm glad we're here now.
And I would be remiss if I didn't mention the commitment tweet to U of A, a picture of you as a youngster rocking a 1994 throwback Wildcat face jacket.
Yeah, that was probably my mom. So I'm sure they had me in all sorts of gear growing up. So I'm sure I have so many baby pictures of me wearing everything Arizona.
And I think a testament to really the reach of the Arizona softball program is here you are, born in Tucson, you move to Louisville, Kentucky, you end up coming back here. But in Louisville, Kentucky, it comes full circle with one of the program greats and Jenny Dalton Hill, the relationship you started with her.
Yeah, so I played against her daughter, Brooke Hill, in high school ball. It was my sophomore year. I played against her one time, and my mom was like, Jenny Dalton's daughter is on this team. And I kind of was like, I didn't really know a whole lot about Arizona, the history of it. So I was like, okay, sweet. And someone was like, you have to meet her. And so after the game, I have the picture of Jenny and I, but I met an Arizona legend, and she was like, I was committed at the time. So she was so excited for me, and ever since then, she's been looking out for me. It's been really, really nice to have her in my corner. All of the tweets anything that mentions me, I always see Jenny's liking it or shouting out to me. She DM'd me a couple weeks ago, checking in on the season. I think having that relationship, especially being from Kentucky too, I was like, this is the greatest thing. That connection is just one that I feel like is so rare. But the fact that we have it, it's what makes us close.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so your journey starts as a Wildcat, as a true freshman. You start seeing some time on the field when Raina Karanko goes down. Do you remember that first game, that first time stepping onto Mike Andrea Field and at Rita Hillebrand Stadium with the Wildcat uniform on?
Yeah, I would say that I do remember my first game in general more. We were at South Florida, and I remember, I think my first game I hit my first home run, and it was the coolest thing ever. But playing at Rita, yeah, that was a little blurry, my first one ever there. But I can tell you that my butterflies were probably through the roof. But still, I think like one of the things I'm still grateful for, and I guarantee you I loved it then, was hearing my name over the loudspeaker and saying like, "You're starting second baseman, number 9." Oh my gosh, I guarantee you when that went off and I heard my name and I was in the starting lineup, I was through the roof.
Now, a tradition in the program for all new players, whether you're a freshman or a transfer, is that first road trip karaoke, called a showcase, as it were. What song did you go with, and how did you do?
Okay, so I will say that I got voted the best. So I love singing. I absolutely love singing. Like I can go on car just drives like at night, whenever I want, for like an hour. I can just drive around like in circles around the campus, and I will just sing my heart out. So I love singing. So when they told me, a bunch of our team, like in my class, they were shy. They were nervous. You know, they get a little jittery with it. But I was so excited. I was like, okay, my turn. I get to go now. But I sang Gotta Go My Own Way from High School Musical, and I sang my heart out. And I was singing both parts too. I was singing against Zac Efron and Vanessa Hudgens. And we were only doing like 40-second clips, so I was ready to keep going. Like I was singing, and they were like, okay. They started clapping, like, you're good, you're done. And I was like, what? No, I haven't even hit like the high note yet. Okay. But yeah, that was mine. And I think I got voted designated best one, I think. So
humble brag, no big deal.
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty proud.
Now, I have to ask you, your freshman season coming in the last season of Mike Andrea coaching in Arizona, what do you look back at, or how do you reflect on being a part of that legacy of his?
I think it's incredible. Honestly, I feel like now that I've had time to let it sink in that I was part of Coach's last year, and 2, part of Kate's first year. I think that's something that I will forever be thankful for. Playing for Coach is an honor, and I think like it's sinking in that, wow, he recruited you and you got to play on his last team. Like, look at how many great things he did, and you were part of it. And you got to honor him as part of his last team. And I think playing for him, I loved it. He's like family still to all of us. Like I just saw him yesterday walking around McHale, and we sat and talked for 20 minutes. Like he's that type of guy where he's family to you. He will always, like, he sends you birthday texts every year. Like he's always on it. You can tell he cares, and he was a great guy to play with. And I'm so honored that I was able to send him off, and I was part of that team.
Now, when you wrapped up your freshman season and you were, set on coming back and looking towards your sophomore season, what did you have in your mind as far as, hey, this freshman season's over, Coach is retired, Caitlin's coming in? Just kind of, what was your mindset like going into this sophomore season?
Yeah, while it was unfortunate that Raina went down, I was thankful because playing those games that I got, it allowed me to build that relationship with Kate. And so I knew that as soon as Raina was gone, like that was my spot to take. Like that was my thing. So I got to play behind her. And then when she went down, I played for her. So I knew that sophomore year, that was mine. Like and I was able to build that relationship. So Kate had the trust in me of saying like, okay, she played, she's ready to go. Like she's going next year. That's her spot. And so I think just building that confidence too, I was like, okay, I can compete at this level, and I'm ready to go. And coming back, that's how I approached this whole fall coming in. I was ready. I was ready to start. I was ready to be the second baseman. And so I continue to carry that now. I'm thankful that I get to be out there.
Now, there are people in the program who have labeled you the team hype woman. Is that true? Do you smile, and are you proud of that? And how do you get a reputation like that?
Yeah. I would say 100%. I would say my teammate Izzy Pacho is definitely another hype woman. So her and I come as like a package deal. But I will say, yes, I am extremely high energy. I will be the first person to scream and say, great freaking play. That's amazing. Or like jumping up and down, like throwing my hands up in the air. Like I do all of that. That's something I started doing that like sophomore year of high school. I got out of my shell and I was like, okay, let's just get excited. And so I think I pride myself on it. If you come to watch any game, I am nonstop talking in the field. I'm cheering on my pitcher every single pitch. If they throw a ball, I'm like, I see what you're doing, like great pitch. Anyone gets a hit, I'm jumping up in that dugout. Like I am screaming my head off, starting cheers, doing anything to get everyone else around me hyped up. So 100%, I feel like my energy is almost never lacking. So yeah, I pride myself on it for sure.
So we have kind of the dugout portion of that, but outside of that, outside of playing, having the opportunity to play at a legendary facility, what is your favorite game day tradition at Hillenbrand?
I would say, honestly, I love playing hacky. I will say, I know that it's weird and I know that it's not like a normal like softball thing, but I love playing hacky. Like I'm the first person, like Izzy and I will make eye contact. I'm like, go hack. Like we'll do like a little kicking thing to us. And we're like, okay, yeah. So we'll go for 20 minutes. We'll just go kick a little hacky sack around. I would say that's my favorite. I love it. And we're very competitive. So like we have to get, so we call it a hack. And so however many people you have in your group, everyone has to touch it in order to get a hack. So we're very competitive. We're like, touch it, go, like run, go get it. Like, so we're very, it gets us ready to roll. And then
competitive even in hack.
Yes, we're a very competitive group. And it gets, it gets your hips opened up for the game. And so I would say, yeah, well, it's a little odd. That's my favorite thing.
Now, part of your pre-at-bat routine, walk-up song, you chose a track from the Mandalorian soundtrack.
Yep.
What was behind that? Why the selection?
I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I love Star Wars. Like that's my favorite series. I've watched everything. And then so I watched the Mandalorian like over the past few months, I guess, whenever it came out. And so I heard the soundtrack and I was like, oh, this is dope. Like if I walk up to this right now, it's gonna be. And then I also I love it because the however many Star Wars fans there are in the stands, they love it. And so I had I'm sure, I guarantee you 80% of the people were probably like, what is this? Okay. But then I had 5 people come up to me after the game. They're like, oh, that was the greatest thing ever. I love your walk-up song. That was great. I was like, okay, good. I'm glad I reached some audience here. But it's cool. I walk up and I feel okay, this is dope. I'm the Mandalorian right now. I'm going to go hit. But yeah, I love it. I love Star Wars.
And as that song goes off and you're stepping into the box, what's the Allie Skaggs pre-at-bat routine? What's going through your mind? What are some of your go-tos as far as just getting ready for that particular at-bat?
Yeah, I honestly really like to look down to my third base coach. So Lauren Lappin's down there. I just like to get the approval of, all right, come on. She always says, all right, great hitter, let's go. And so I look at her and I get the nod. So I give her a little nod. I'm like, okay, I'm with you. Grab a little bit of dirt. I do a little wipe of the dirt, and then I always grab my bat in 2 hands, deep breath, let it all go, relax my shoulders. Then I get in the box and I just I wait for the pitcher, and I'm like, all right, cool, let's go. I tend to not think a whole lot when I'm in the box. I honestly trust myself, and I'm like, okay, whatever happens, it's at bat, it happens. I go up and I will tell you, if you ever watch me hit, I swing at a lot. So I go up there and I'm hacking. So whatever it is, I have a plan to just hit the ball hard. So I go up and I don't hyper focus on, okay, I'm waiting for her to throw me a curveball. I want to go hit that. I'm hitting anything hard that's over the plate. And so I think keeping my head kind of clear in that way instead of overanalyzing and trying to be perfect about, oh, what's she going to throw me? I'm going to freak out. Don't let her throw this to you because then you'll get beat. It's more of throw me the ball anywhere over the plate. I'm going to hit it as hard as I can.
And that approach most certainly working so far in the sophomore season, Allie. You have a number of milestones you've hit, one of which the 3 home run game against UTEP, tying the program record and having your name go into the record book alongside the names like Jesse Harper, Kathy Malga, Jenny Dalton Hill. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that and that just milestone accomplishment already this season?
It's awesome. I always go back to being the kid from Louisville. I think that's the coolest thing ever is that, you see all of these kids that were big time ranked and we're always on all the articles for being great players coming into Arizona. And then I feel I was kind of under the radar. And then coming in and doing something like that and being where I'm from and having the support system back home. I think it's so cool. I will get goosebumps thinking about it. I'm like, wow, Allie Skaggs is in the record books. Wow, that's absolutely amazing. I think that's something I will never take anything like that for granted. And I'm honored.
And I think a symbol of your outstanding season so far, Allie, is you had 3 goals that you achieved in 1 week. 3 home run game, Pac-12 Player of the Week, mm-hmm. hitting a grand slam. Pretty good week at the office for you.
Yeah, it was like I said, I swing a lot. So I think when you're hot like that, I swing more. Seeing the ball kind of like a beach ball. But yeah, I was so pumped. I feel I wasn't even thinking about them as goals. I don't play for them, but then when I did it, I was like, oh, I can cross it off. That's great. Another one too, I will say that I'm proud of. I did it a couple weeks ago. I cleared Kendrea's corner. It was in practice, but I hit it over the bleachers, and that's another goal that I had. And it was so I'm very proud of
We're
that, so I'm going to share that.
we're checking the boxes
Yes.
on the goals, and just to kind of put the cherry on top for that stretch you're on. 8 home runs in 7 games, first Arizona player since Stacey Chambers 2009 to do it.
Oh wow!
We can check that box too on.
Yeah,
on the goal
I did
list.
not know that. Wow.
Sitting here today, obviously you're in the home stretch of Pac-12 season, and you've had this outstanding year, and you will continue to do so. When you look back, what do you point to, or what do you realize as maybe a catalyst or a reason for that you've had this success here in your sophomore season?
I was prepared very well. I think I'll even go back to club ball in high school. I had a fantastic coach that taught me how to hit and how to play softball the right way. I think I learned from an early age, like, just take good at bats and you'll get better. And I think, like, mindset too is that I always know, no matter how good or bad I do, it's always like I do my best to stay here. And I think that that's something I pride myself on, is that when I do great, like I'll tell you this past week, okay, that those stats, those numbers are pretty good, but I still feel like, okay, like, let's go. You don't want to go have a terrible series against Cal, like, stay here. Like, okay, the ball doesn't lie. Like, but I think preparation, I trust myself. I know that I can take good at bats. I know that my swing is feeling good. And so I think just staying the course and trusting what I have done up until this moment, and also giving myself credit for, okay, you're good. Like, give yourself credit for that. Like, you are good. You can compete. You can hit the ball. You can field. You are great, and finish the season off that way.
I think a lot of the success too for your student athlete experience so far here at Arizona, away from softball, away from the field, you are a member of our SAC, involved in the community service component of and subcommittee of that. What drew you to that, and what kind of inspired you to get that involved in leadership and life outside of softball?
Yeah, I will say Izzy Pacho, my teammate, got me into that. So she's been our SAC rep for the past couple of years. And I think it goes back to me being like that hype woman energy, like giving everything to everyone. Izzy looked at me and was like, okay, I want you to either take over for me or join me. And so I was like, oh yeah, I'm all for that. Like, I love leaders, anything to do with leadership. I'm all for it, because I think my voice is strong enough to do that. So I joined Izzy this year on SAC. It's been great. I love it, just because, one, like, I've gotten to meet so many other athletes and like build those relationships. I think because freshman year was so secluded because of COVID, I feel like we weren't allowed to meet anyone. We weren't allowed to do anything. It was strictly softball, strictly go home, stay safe, don't get sick. Like, it was that. It wasn't go become a part of the Arizona athletics community. So this year, joining SAC, it's been great. Building relationships with the admin has been huge too. Like, like yesterday I saw Dave Hickey and he was like, oh, great job this week, like, way to hit. And I was like, all right, sweet, like, you know who I am. That's awesome. Building those relationships, that's what I wouldn't trade that. That's what I do. I love people, and I love meeting as many people as possible, and doing something like SAC allows me to do that.
Now, also, here we are in 2022, 50th anniversary of the enactment of Title IX. When you think about 50 years since that landmark date and enactment of the law and its impact on women's sports, obviously at Arizona softball, a huge rise of that, what goes through your mind thinking about here we are 50 years later?
Yeah, it's crazy to me that we're already at 50. But I think it's great. I think the only thing we can ask for is equality, and I think Title IX does that for us. And the idea of it is fantastic, just because I think that, one, facilities, like, you can see Rita gets an upgrade, like, you see, like, you get those things that sometimes women, I feel like, there are times where it feels like you get a little bit, like, swept behind the bigger sports like football, basketball, baseball. So I think Title IX gives us the opportunity to stay along there with them. Another thing too, like, I think it gives us the opportunity to have our voices be heard. And I think, like, this summer, even, like, Izzy Pacho and I are going to be part of a Title IX event we're going to host it here. We're going to have kids come out. We're going to teach them about Title IX. We're going to teach them about equality. So I think it's fantastic, and I'm very proud of how far we've come with that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And the June 23rd event, we are hosting it here on campus. It's also got a lunchtime panel, just so you know, that will include your old friend, Jane Dalton Hill.
Nice.
As a panelist of
love
that.
It.
So
Sweet.
don't want to miss that. We're going to have a lot of great panelists. Tanya Hughes is coming. Lacey John is coming, 2 of our NCAA Woman of the Year award winners. So definitely bring yourself, bring your crew. It's going to be an awesome day. And I want to wrap up, Allie, with you on life after softball. You're a journalism major. What drew you to that, and what's a passion in communications journalism of yours?
Yeah, so I was lucky enough in high school to have like a broadcasting class offered to us, and so for 3 or 4 years I was making videos and just going around the school shooting video, like doing projects outside of class, like getting on my computer editing stuff. I love that stuff. So once I realized that, oh, you can actually like get a job in that, like you can thrive somewhere with a career, okay? Because I was always growing up just around sports. So I was like, maybe I'll do physical therapy, I'll become a coach, something like that. But then once I realized like you can do something fun that you enjoy, and you love video, you love editing, you love that type of stuff. So then I said, okay, let's do journalism. And I actually reached out to Kenzie Fowler, who was one of our former U of A players, and I called her and I said, hey, do you have any advice? Like, I know you went through the communications journalism route. And she told me, yeah, do journalism. That's how I ended up here. And so I'm a journalism major now. We're doing like a lot of like news writing type of thing, which is cool, but I'm like, I want to get a camera. Like I want to get behind the scenes. So I'm waiting to get involved with the athletics department to do that myself. But I love anything to do with camera work. So I will say my goal, my brother plays ice hockey, and I think my goal would eventually be to be like a social media, like video editor for an NHL hockey team, because I mean, I'd love to start here too, but eventually, long term, I would love to end up somewhere with a hockey team.
That's awesome. That's an awesome goal to have.
Yeah.
We would be remiss if we didn't shout out Kenzie Fowler.
Yes.
Pac-12 softball analyst, as well as a very talented editor, producer of videos and content you see on all the Arizona Athletic Social. Shout out to Kenzie.
Yes, Kenzie.
But that's it in a nutshell for you, Allie, of, you have this awesome season that you're taking advantage of all the opportunities that are given to you. You're on top of everything outside of softball. And I think that's an interesting story that hopefully fans will enjoy listening to and tuning into here on the episode. So with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up this episode of the Bear Down Podcast. Allie Skaggs swinging a hot bat, playing a mean hack, and doing a lot of other things outside of softball.